PSGL, George Morgan here and Jack Gannett. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Borman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Good evening everybody and welcome back to PSGL as we get ready to head over to round 4 in Shanghai, China. My name is Corey Brooks, one of your two commentators for this evening. Join with me in the booth, it's the one and only, it's Omi. How are we doing, my friend?
Thank you very much, Corey. Really looking forward to getting another round of PSGL underway. And yes, it's a very, very busy night if you're going to be following the real life action at Australia as well. It's a great way to get started in terms of your action as we get going here at China. Really looking forward to this 18-minute qualifying first of all, which awards a point for pole, and then the 28-lap contest, which we already know that it's all going to go down to the end on the last lap. So really looking forward to getting everything going once again today, and it's the same story, it's the same question mark that we come in to this as we came into last week, is that can anyone beat Tony Atala, who had an off round last time? So let's see whether he'll be able to bounce back and get some momentum going once again.
Absolutely, you know, Leonardo Tonelato taking victory last time out after what has been a very dominant Tony Hitala, taking 2 victories this season alone, ultimately stopped from getting that 3 in a row by Leonardo, but we still have 28 laps of Shanghai, China to go. 5.451 kilometers, 16 turns, 9 to the right and 7 to the left with its 2 DRS aided zones. That sector 3 DRS zone is going to be spectacular. Expect dives, late lunges from maybe 2 cars back going down into that hairpin of turn 14, one of the harshest braking zones, if not the harshest braking zone of the entire circuit. So the drivers need to be careful there, but don't forget about sector 1, turns 1, 2, firing it back down the corkscrew into turn 3 could certainly open the door for some spicy overtakes yet to come. You do have that DRS aid once again going down that pit straight, so I'm excited to see how these 28 laps are going to unfold. But first, the drivers need to get themselves through qualifying. 18 minutes of that to set the grid order, to see who is the fastest and who's looking good to potentially take another victory away from Hitala. Hitala racing here with us tonight on the grid will make it to the track, so hopefully he can score back some much needed points to extend that championship lead and just relieve a bit of that pressure off of his shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all good being ahead of your rivals, but then when you see the gap closing in, and when you have an off round, it can lead to a couple of off rounds. So it's important to get some momentum back going, to get some form back going. It is always very, very important to get in those results, because that big gap can come down very, very quickly. If there's another race where Hitala is out of the points and we see a win from Bubal, Campbell, Adams, or even someone else, they can absolutely get themselves in the mix and possibly even ahead. So it can all change. This championship can all change very, very quickly, and I think this tier displayed that very much last season, and we definitely could see it once again. But a start like this from Hitala is absolutely brilliant, though I think we still have to mention the first 2 rounds absolutely extraordinary, taking the win in both of them. So we've not seen this type of domination mostly at all in this F3 tier for a couple of seasons. So for Hitala to be coming in and doing that, quite impressive. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we do see him get a promotion to F2 mid-season, like we've seen some of our other contenders get in previous seasons, like Ben Marbles, Angelo Di Ortenzio, or more recently last season, Gabriel Quintino.
Yeah, so he's certainly pushing and striding far, is Itala, to potentially get that tier 2 promotion. That's every driver's dream, to get higher up the field, challenge the better competition, get yourself to the top tier, where you may see the likes of yourself taking an esports seat in the Formula 1 streams you see on the YouTube channel. You see it live. Yeah, I know what made them lot the tier 1 drivers. If you are good enough, could you see yourself up there? It's working your way through the rankings. But that's enough squabbling and talking from us. The drivers have taken to the track, so we are going to see 18 minutes of qualifying, which will set the grid for 28 laps of Shanghai, China.
Go. Cars out there on the circuit, navigating their way through around this 5.451 kilometers, 3.387 miles if you prefer it in miles as well. Racetrack, which runs to 16 corners, and they have the big DRS zone, as we mentioned, of the run towards turn number 14. Turn 1 can also be an opportunity, so the last lap is always going to be very, very interesting, and drivers can find themselves getting caught out. Turn 14 being that hard braking spot that we've already mentioned. You can see drivers go late on the brakes down there, and you can see a bit of contact and some moves made as well. So that's definitely a point to keep an eye out on around this circuit, and we're about to head to it with Rens Thomassen, who will be looking to get a good result underneath him today. So looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do. The driver 11th in the championship managed to get a 4th place in the opening round in Sakir.
Oh, Rens Thomassen looking to potentially take a pole position. You know, he's been up there, he's been well within the fight in the earlier rounds. He comes into China, maybe feeling confident, has jumped ahead of what was a Kick-Sauber Walter Steg, who would have been the first driver to lead us away with lap times. Where Rens Thomassen's feeling brave, sends it round into turn 1, looking to be the first driver to get through this set of corners and back down the corkscrew we go around turn 3. Looking confident though. You see the flashing light, maybe just trying to recharge a little bit of the battery that was burnt down that pit straight. And now as we come down through to finish sector 1, it's looking fairly squared away. 23.450. We have the Sauber of Lighty, who's just come in to finish his sector 1 with a 23.46. So he is fastest, is Rens Thomassen, so far out of everybody coming through those sector 1s as he comes through sector 2 now.
Let's see what Thomassen will be able to manage on this lap. Sector 2 split about to come our way, 50.218 when you add the first and second sector together, and then he's got this very, very long back straight to go, which we already talked about, and then it'll be foot to the floor down through the Little Kinka 15 through into turn 6, which is the last corner they're really worrying about on this circuit, and then full focus to the line to see what lap time you've got underneath you. The 16th and final corner can see drivers run wide and lose the lap time late on. You've put in all of the effort across this lap. You don't want to lose it right at the end. And around the final corner, very nearly losing the car though for Thomassen. Getting on the power across the line. It's a 1 minute 29.455 as Lighty settles in currently to second with Thomas Laminen into P3.
Absolutely. So purple sector 1 and sector 3 for Rens Thomassen. Lighty got that purple sector 2, who was just half a tenth away from taking that provisional pole position from Rens Thomassen. But a beautiful lap there, really setting the bar standard high here for everybody in China. The 29s have been broken already. You see drivers just toying around. Felipe Salza, Walter Steg, Alexander Damas, all flirting just very close to staying in that 130 zone, but they are quite far off the margin just yet. Still 13, under 14 minutes left of qualifying to go. So who is next across the line to set a lap? Marcel Biega will be the last one running to set his lap time. Is this a challenge for Paul? Not, but it's mighty close indeed. It's a 29.522 for Marcel Biega.
Absolutely, that's the lap time that he has managed, the Mercedes driver, Mercedes found their way at the front for the early stages last time out at Spa, and then you had loads of contenders coming into play. If you can get yourself and your teammate up there at the front and you have a good relationship, especially of course if you find yourself in a call together as well during the race, can be incredibly helpful when it comes towards teamwork and when it comes to trying to keep yourself at the front, because around this circuit, especially with the long straight, you're going to be a sitting duck. If someone in second wants to get by, they absolutely can get by. But if you do have two cars, you can find yourself putting in a bit of the defense, and it can lead to true moments of brinkmanship, as we saw last time out, and drivers definitely getting very, very feisty out there on the circuit. We're currently taking a look at Oleg Napadovsky in the Haas. He's about to begin his lap.
Yeah, indeed, we'll stay on board with Napadovsky. As you see on the track map in that bottom right corner, the Aston Martin lurking behind that Haas. That is Tony Hitali, your championship leader, who has been waited patiently to see what sort of pace is coming to the field here in these banker laps, and now will come out after just letting everybody rubber it in, get that track temperature a little bit higher, and maybe set the provisional pole time, does the Aston Martin. But on board with Oleg Napadovsky as he's weaving the really trying to generate that tyre temperature. Heat is king in the soft compound. You need to get them fired up, ready to work, so you can absolutely send it through these turns, especially into Sector 1. And then the S is in Sector 2. You can't risk any understeer, but through 16 we go. Flat to the line. Rear wing is open. Oleg Napadovsky firing down towards Turn 1. Seeing what sort of laps we can get from the Haas driver. Coming around Turn 1, doesn't take it too wide. Nice and Bonnie sticks close to that apex around 2. Close to the apex on 3, and then he's now struggling to get that traction down a little bit on the exit of 4. It's easy done. And then that little kink of Turn 5 to finish Sector 1. It's not looking purple, and maybe it is full purple. He's certainly going fast, but Tony Hitala is going quicker. That I can see, a purple Sector 1 for Tony Hitala. Oleg Napadovsky round those S sections of China to finish off turns number 8 and around 9. You need to be cautious here on 10. There's a lot of runoff to use. It's very easy to run it wide. You run outside those white lines and that is an invalidation. And then he's back around turn number 11, finishing what could have been the end of his lap, but he does it well, gets the traction down on 13. That could be another costly corner. It's very easy to misjudge on the throttle and light of the rear tyres, send that car spinning around, but he dealt with it well. He's aided with the DRS now all the way down towards the harshest braking zone of the circuit. Turn 14, does not lock up, fires it round to the right, keeps it nice and bonny. And is it going to be a provisional pole time, but will it be jumped by Hatala from behind? Hatala backed out of that lap. Oleg's backed out of the lap as Hatala. Hatala flat towards the line. Where's he going to place himself? Up into P4. He's just outside of a 10th from pole position. It's not too bad for Hatala, the championship leader so far.
Absolutely. The driver who's been on pole twice so far this season. It belonged to Campbell Adams in Sao Paulo in the second round of our campaign. But Hatala will be looking to try and fight his way back through. He'll still have more time to do so. But it's Rens Thomassen at the front of the field. Let's see whether he will be able to retain that as we watch the Williams make his way through the opening sector with 10 minutes, 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go, to be a bit more precise with you. And Thomassen going quicker by nearly 400ths of a second. Let's see whether he can improve that and continue to try to take it further away from the field in the second and third sector through these fast and flowing corners.
Well, as he did go purple sector 1, I can see that Jacob in his Alpine is purple sector 1. Maybe the improvement on the Alpine is needed. But Rens Thomassen, around turn 10 we go to finish off his sector 2. Is that a much more improvement? He's down on his delta. He's completely lost the time. Maybe an issue in turn 9 or 10 costing him what has been a 10th and a half loss. And now through Sector 3, it will maybe see him in the pits unless he goes and has the fuel for another lap, but he will need to recharge that battery a little bit more. We will jump on board with Jacob, the Alpine lurking behind. He is fastest in Sector 1. He is up on the Delta in Sector 2, but it is not a purple Sector 2 as we come down towards turn 14. He needs to slam those anchors on, fire around to the right-hand side, collect yourself well, get the traction down nice and quickly before you need to set yourself up to fire it round to that left-hander. Turn 16, almost cost himself the invalidation, really maximising the use of track limits there, and jumps up into P7 with a 29.6. So although he has that fastest Sector 1, he's lacking in Sector 2 and Sector 3.
Yeah, so an interesting lap coming in there, but quite a few mistakes going on out on the circuit, with loads of drivers not being able to get to the lap time that they were looking for. Tador Pressakan, though, is definitely one of those drivers who is looking to improve. Let's see whether you can do it. That is massively wide, and it will be an invalidation as well, up by 3/10 at the end, but very wide through the 16th and final corner. And that's exactly what we were mentioning earlier on. You can complete the entire lap, but it can all go wrong at the final corner, as it did for Pressakan.
Absolutely, it only takes that one moment, and especially out of a turn like turn 16. Oh, excuse me. It's very, very easy to run it wide out there. There's a lot of runoff to use, and if you hit too much apex on your entry of 16, it bounces the car up, unsettles it, you're understeering, and you're sliding out wide, and the invalidation is very easy to come by. Just trying to find somebody we can get on board with who is on a lap. I don't think anybody's on a lap. I think they've all completed their second runs as the Alpine slows it right down. Alexander Damas, I think he's setting up for a lap. He's not. He's just slowing it down to the pits though. Waiting to see if his teammate Jacob, who he was on board with, will be going around for another run. But he's not. He is just out of fuel, running very, very slowly. I don't think anybody else is on a time lap. Anybody you can see out there? Felipe Salza running slowly. Everybody's running slowly. Oleg Napadovsky potentially is indeed running on a lap. The V-cab behind Linus Donovan also on a lap. So we'll see if Oleg can finally get that time on the board. Struggled so far. Boxed was not happy with one of his runs, so swapped those tyres, refueled that car, got going once again, and now as we power on towards turn 16, he will finish the lap. This time around has a little bit of a snap on the exit of turn 16, but powers down towards the line for a 29.5. Linus Donovan will cross the line at 32.1. So is that a double running for Linus Donovan? We'll jump on board to see if he is burning the battery. Recharging into turn 1 as you expect. He's not absolutely flat to the floor. He's really trying to be cautious with the car. Doesn't want to put too much rotation in and slide, understeer, too much pressure on the grip. But the battery is certainly deployed. He is pushing hard. Linus Donovan, the V-cab, looking to set the next time lap on the board.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to see what Donovan is going to be able to do. Just over 5 minutes to go in this session, and we've had lots of drivers come back to the pit lane, or drivers who have begun lap times as well, because we're getting into the final stages. Everyone will want to be out when it is golden time in this session, where we have all of the laps at the end coming in. We have Donovan improving just by the slightest of margins, but that's not what he'll want. He's very nearly losing the car as he goes through turn number 13. Not looking well at this stage for Donovan on this run. To say he was only improving by a couple of thousandths when he is a couple of seconds away, and you can see that he has backed out of that lap time. So not what Donovan wanted at all. Here is our current pole man looking to retain that status, and he has DRS open on the run towards turn number 40.
Absolutely, maybe burned a little bit too much battery. Is this going back to the pits? Maybe he came out to test the waters to see where the grip levels are at. Maybe improving on a worn set. But as we come down towards turn 16, he goes straight on and in to the pits. Everybody now will come into the pits and set themselves up for that final run-in.
It will indeed, with all of the improvements being at the end, with the circuit being at its best at the end, everyone would of course want to prioritize that. We have a few drivers heading out a little bit more earlier on as well. Hitala! Tony Hitala, 1 minute 29.146. While everyone else is having a trip back to the pit lane, it is his own circuit right now, along with a couple of other drivers, a lot of clean space, and a lap time that takes him to the front by a couple of tenths of a second, which means you will need a mammoth response from the drivers behind if they want to deny him, as Hitala currently looking at 3 poles in 4 races.
Oh, lovely pole position there from the man who sits at the top in the driver's standings. But for now, it's provisional as everybody's sat in that pit lane waiting for the track evolution to be at its best, to get that best grip, to come out and potentially challenge for it. But you're going to need tenths, under 3 tenths, just under 3 tenths, for Renz to Masson to even get close within a sniff, within a whiff of that pole position. And 3 tenths in qualifying is quite the margin to gain, especially at this level when you're so close to leveling that 29 time. Oh, Tony Hitala, take a bow, but do you have the time to go again? We're on board with Wojciech Steg, who's looking to improve on his qualifying time. He's in sector 3 now, slow cars ahead of him, but that certainly will not prove to be too much of a distraction as that rear wing will now be opened.
Absolutely, Wojciech Steg making his way through. All of the drivers out of the way, of course. We do not have collisions on as well to make sure that we don't give an unfair advantage, especially down that straight. A very big straight, meaning there would be a big advantage if they had slipstream and very nearly losing the car for Steg, and that cost him time as well, as he wasn't able to improve at the end. We currently join Alexander Dimas, who has just gone through the opening few corners, a long opening few corners, until he can finally get his foot down, and turn number 6 is arriving his way in a couple of moments time. Let's see how his first sector time is looking like. He's down by 8 tenths of a second, so it looks like he'll be doing, if he has enough fuel, another build lap, and then we'll be pushing on next time around.
Well, I think he may have done his lap. He was behind Wojciech Steg, or maybe ahead of Wojciech Steg on when he was doing his lap. So maybe he's done his qualifying laps now, and this is just a push all the way around to try and make it to the line. If he has got the fuel to go again, he will need to recharge that battery as best as possibly can. We can hope that we can get one more run out there for Alexander Dimas. Hitala retiring, does not have the time to go again, but he's certainly feeling comfortable up there with that 29.1. Can Renz Masson do anything and challenge back at him? We have Oleg Napadoshke, who will cross the line to start the next lot of running times. Bulba ahead even in the Aston Martin, just finished his sector 1.
Absolutely. I mean, well, Hitala, as you mentioned, retired nice and early. Doesn't have enough time, but at this stage, you never often see. We're getting it this season, and we got it last season in the early stages with Quintino, but you don't get these big gaps between first and second at all here in PSGL. They're all always very tight, so it's very impressive from Tony Hitala, and he'll be fairly confident that he can retain that. But that was the lap that came all of a sudden, so if any other drivers have definitely put in the prep, they can also produce something similar. We're currently watching Napadovsky. Let's see if he's still improving. When he gets to the second sector, he is by over 1.5 tenths of a second. We are now getting to the business end of this session. Let's see what Oleg Napadovsky can do. He's got a couple more corners to go on this lap. Let's see whether he can try and get into the top 5 with the checkered flag out.
He does come down, gets that rear wing open in sector 3 for the final time, although it will not be for the final time. He'll pick up the DRS out of turn 16 before he hits the line. Turn 14 done and dusted. Looked very clean, tidy and very fast as he now sets himself up to fire it round that left-hander to finish off the lap. Can Oleg improve? Where will this place him up in the field? Crosses the line up to P2. It's a 29.2. A much needed lap for Oleg Napadovsky. We have the Mercedes behind. Marcel Biega. It's not indeed. It will be his teammate of Tudor Presican. Comes down for a 29.4, 2/10th improvement, takes P3 as Jacob goes P5. Lighty to separate the two there, putting himself up there 29.3, so the laps are starting to flood in. We will go on board with Renz Masson, who was looking good for pole, but he's not improving too much here in sector 3 as he comes around turn 16. Will he find the improvement needed to get ever closer to Hitala? Crosses the line, it's a 29.313, it's just not enough as FedEx goes up into P5.
Absolutely. Is there anyone else who can bring a lap time at the end? You've got Biega currently in 4th position. Here's the second Williams in the field. An improvement across the line for Thomas Laminin all the way to the second row. It'll be P4, but it is going to be Tony Atala with 3 poles in 4 races, doing his best Ishmael Fassi impression, and he's done it by a tenth of a second. He did not even need a final lap, and he'll be joined by Oleg Napadovsky, 22nd in the championship, but on the front row in P2.
Absolutely, much needed for Napadovsky. Rens Tomasen in third, lining up with his teammate just behind Tomas Laminen in fourth. Marcel Biega, Lighty, FedEx, Tudor Presican, Victor Widler, and Jacob lining up your top 10. Felipe Souza, Alexander Damas, Campbell Adams, Wojciech Steg, Tias Korsman, Buba, and Linus Donovan doing your finishing order. We will now come back to the commentators' corner. We'll have a quick run-ins from one of our sponsors first. Welcome back to the Commentators' Corner, joined with our lovely faces, myself and Omi, where we'll have a quick little rundown of the calendar yet to come. So here we are lining up for round 4 in China, and then next week we'll get ourselves over to the Red Bull Ring in Austria, one of my favourite tracks, one of the fastest tracks with the quickest lap times, to say the least. But there are some spicy places for overtakes. DRS games potentially. You've also got to keep your eye open for that. Coming up towards turn 3, even down towards turn 4, that double dosage of DRS. But who is going to play the games and stay behind up into turn 3? That's what I want to know. How are we feeling about Austria, Omi? I quite like the track for racing.
Oh, well, every single PSGL race that I've done around that circuit, it's just been lap after lap of what on earth is going on. It's been 3 wide, 4 wide, dive bomb city basically. We've had absolutely everything going on around the Red Bull Ring circuit. It's a short lap, meaning that, well, once you leave the final DRS on the run towards turn 4, in about a few seconds you're back to it, and you're back to those DRS, and meaning that you're just getting constant changes, constant action, and we can usually see some safety cars as well. So a lot usually does go on around Austria. It's always amazing to watch. And then after Austria, Corey Brooks, we've got some amazing circuits as well. Silverstone, what a circuit that is. It just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I'm excited to have Silverstone, one of our races, to come back in after our break week. We all get a nice little relaxing week after Austria, nice little recharge our batteries. Then it is all guns blazing for Silverstone. You know, some brave manoeuvres I have seen around Stowe, maybe down even into Vale, going side by side in Copse Corner. You know, the endless possibilities for bravery and getting the elbows out in Silverstone are everywhere. Certainly a track that can make you feel invincible and unstoppable, and you can have a lot of fun going side by side through some of those corners. After that, it's Singapore. It's not many places to overtake around there. It's going to be a battle of attrition, a battle of strategy more than most. I expect to see it just a train going round lap after lap. But if a door certainly opens, best believe these drivers are going to go for it. And then on to Mexico. Once again, that double dose of DRS. It's only got one detection point though, so that's certainly going to be spicy.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Singapore, as I mentioned a few broadcasts ago, I absolutely love PSGL races there, just due to the fact of it's not your usual just pass all the time stuff. There's a bit of a different approach, and a similar approach, I think, to real life as well, coming in. But yes, you're going to have the whole train just making their way through. But when you are getting a move, it means more than just a move, for example, around this circuit. Every move that you get there is vital and is crucial, and you are going to see the other driver fight it, and that is when we get those tight battles. So early on in the race, you can see battles that go on that are super tight, that are right up to the wall. So it's a bit of a different style of race at Singapore compared to what were other circuits that we end up going to as well. And forging away through and making moves can also, of course, be great to watch as well and great to do for those drivers. So Singapore, I absolutely love that fact about that place. A bit of a different style of racing, but yeah, what a calendar, what a calendar. Short calendar, but amazing to watch.
Of course, and as well, we do finish off in Abu Dhabi. That's always going to be a fun one. Hopefully, we don't have any dramatic repeats of what we've seen in past seasons out there in the real track. But we finish off season 39, this short, little, brief season to get us through to the next game cycle at Abu Dhabi. Yes, Marina, I love it around there, I've got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. When we get to the end of it, of course, we're going to be racing under the lights as well, and it's always very interesting. And of course, getting the 2021 mention by Corey as well, just getting that out of the way, nice and early. But yes, that is just going to be phenomenal. Whether we go there with a championship battle or we just go there with a final day on the game, where usually final days just everything goes completely chaotic. So whichever, well, yeah, whichever road that we get led to, it'll definitely be amazing to watch.
Absolutely. Looking on now at the previous race results from Spa-Francorchamps, Hatala takes pole position, looking good to set themselves up for another victory. 3 on the bounce, but was jumped by Leonardo Tonelato towards the line and managed to get that victory, as Hatala did not have the best race, to say the least. Lost out on vital points needed, but it is early days in the season. But the season is yet so short, so young, and as we are now going to get through the halfway point, the moment we get halfway through this Grand Prix, we are into the halfway point of the season. Points are going to be needed most. Only 9 rounds, and with this being round 4, how do you split 9 rounds? It's 4.5. Halfway through this Grand Prix, we are at the halfway mark. So Hatala looking good for pole position here in China, needs to get another victory, and you may even see the promotion in that second half of season to come. We talked about it earlier on, Omi, so it'd be lovely to see that to come. You know, he's been dominating so far, even with the qualifying. You can see it here from Belgium, although he couldn't convert that to the victory. Leonardo Tonelato, a much-deserved victory he was able to take.
Yep, absolutely. We've seen some really, really interesting sessions play out when it's come to qualifying. The races have also been quite interesting, and Tony Hitala really, really putting in such a brilliant performance. Let's see whether he'll be able to take it to the race win today as well. Campbell Adams, of course, as you mentioned, as well, finding himself starting on pole in Brazil, not being able to get there. But he's been a driver who's been in the points in all 3 of the races. So he's just been consistent and he's just been up there, which can be a good way to keep yourself in the higher echelons of the PSGL Championship when we get to the end of the season. So being consistent, that is usually the key to getting the championship, and that is why Tony Atala will not be able to afford more off days like he found himself with contact at Spa last time out. But I know you guys had to do a lot of waiting for the action when it came to last weekend. I'm happy to say that we're going to be getting underway soon, so there's not too much of waiting to do.
Absolutely not. So I do give you a quick little rundown of the standings. You see Hatala leading the way by 15 points. So he's got a comfortable lead. Hopefully can extend that a little bit more after that pole position he was granted with today. Buba in second. Campbell Adams could have won in Brazil, but to be or not to be, it did not happen. That pole position was only converted into a P6. Linus Donovan, Leonardo Tonelato, Victor last time round gets himself up there into P5. Level points with himself, Linus Donovan, and Tomas Lamminen. Tudor Pressican also up there within striking chance to get a little bit higher. Look how close the battle is from P2 all the way down to 10th in the standings. There's still a lot of action to come, but what I can say about this Grand Prix is it's drizzling a little bit. And I said this before the race, or may expect some wet conditions. China likes to throw a little bit of grease out there on the track at the start of the races. Mixed conditions may be to come, but for now it's looking like an intermediate start.
Absolutely. Well, we were discussing, as you mentioned before we went on air, so it looks like we're going to actually start this contest wet, and it's just going to get a little bit more spice thrown in there. This is going to be really, really exciting to watch. It's time for a bit of chaos then around Shanghai in the wet.
Absolutely. The drivers are getting their setup supply, getting themselves ready to go for 28 laps, and we will be starting in intermediate conditions. So changing condition Grand Prix to be expected. I expect this to dry up. It seems to be China's little gimmick in F1 24. Wet start, dry end. But when will the dry conditions come? That is the question. It could stay like this all race long. We don't have the information here in the comms booth. The drivers certainly do. That's enough chit chat, jibber jabber. I'm going to take you to the track just in case we start to see the lights.
Lights can be sudden. They can be coming up at any point, so we do have to be prepared for any moment when the drivers have got all preparations and everything set and ready, and then it will be time to look to those 5 shining red lights, and then the action will get underway around the Shanghai International Circuit. It is getting quite tense out there, isn't it? It's going to be getting quite tense in a few moments' time as we build up to those 5 lights going out.
It is indeed. I can assure you, drivers are absolutely squabbling for a wet setup. They've got to be. They've got to be. They must know the weather and know the squabbling for either a setup that's juiced just enough for cross conditions. So it'll manage in the wet, it will manage in the dry, but it's not optimal in either. It'll just manage a little bit better when you start swapping tyres around and getting through these treacherous opening laps, because you need to get that dry line forming. The cars are sat there on the grade. The track is going to be at its wettest point until we get some laps done and dusted, and the intermediate tyres start dispersing that water out of the way, just like they're supposed to, doing their jobs of just moving gallons per second. I've got to point that out. This isn't just a small amount, but there are the lights. We have 3 red lights, 5 red lights. We're ready to go racing. The lights are out, and it is go, go, go. And everybody, look at that. There's damage already off the start. I see debris flying. People squabbling, struggling off the race start, and they started on dry tyres. They're on the mediums, so it seems. I see yellow walls as we go side by side into turn 1. Oleg Napadovsky going around the outside into turn 3, looking to take the race lead away from what could have been Hatala's masterclass start. Everybody's got off to a beautiful start. We have seen that little bit of damage, some squabbling going down in the back of the field. Who picked up that damage? Who's missing an end plate?
That will be the question. Chaotic start as we expected in the contest, side by side and trying to get by. Is getting by. Thomas Laminin moving up to 4th position. Cars all over the road, as we mentioned, on the slick compound of tyres as well. With the rain coming down, you've got drivers on the hards, you've got drivers on the mediums. It's all action at the start of this one as they're sliding all over the place. Talking about sliding around, Jacob very nearly losing the car in the background. It's getting super tight further back in the field. You've got Donovan to the inside. He's to the inside of Felipe Sousa. He gets past Felipe Sousa as Tomasin down in 15th is just staying ahead of Boomer. Dramatic start to this one.
Absolute drama. Did the drivers go for a bold strategy starting on the dry tyres to test the waters? Maybe they're expecting it to dry out ever so quickly. But if you look, the rain is still pouring. It is still coming down. It's certainly greasy. The drivers are certainly struggling. Tomas Laminen isn't struggling too much and does manage to get on through on Lighty.
Here we go. Into the pit lane, and they will make it through. It's getting super tight as they enter.
Oh!
Big contact in the background there, and that is going to be tight stuff as we saw them coming in. One of the McLaren cars, they're all trying to get it slowed down. Diego goes round again. It's time for a gamble. He's sliding all over the road. They were off the road coming into the pit lane, and it's absolutely wild stuff in the pit lane.
Absolute chaos. Everybody diving in, trying to swap on some intermediate tyres. I had a feeling it was inches off the start, but they've all gone on dries. They've gone bold, they've gone brave, and they can't manage it. It's too greasy, it's too slip and slidey. Yeah. Look at Biega there, sliding down into Sector 2. The start of Sector 2 around Turn 5, Turn 6 even. Just can't keep the car going how he wants to. He's going to lose dramatic time now as everybody comes back out of the pits on the intermediate compound of tyre. We'll join back on with that train as we may see Hatala now pushing on against Oleg Napadovsky. He's got an open door. He's looking to go side by side on the exit of Turn 6. Can't get there for Turn 7.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if the drivers didn't get the option to start as the game registered it as dry originally. I'm unsure whether that was the case where everyone had to start on those slick compound of tyres. And then, of course, you've seen two drivers continue with the gamble and they're all glued together. Well, we're used to them being glued together anyway. They're even more glued together as they try keep it on the tarmac right now at this stage. And it's been the chaotic start that we knew we were going to get with the wet conditions, but they all started on slicks. It meant that we had a hectic opening lap. They're still struggling, trying to get the grip in these wet weather conditions, and Hitala very nearly pulling around the outside. Here we go, down the straight. Let's see whether we're going to get a move for the race lead. Drawing alongside, going to the inside. This is going to be about picking your braking spot down into turn number 14. How late on the brakes will he go? Oleg Napadovsky keeps his foot in, and immediately we're going side by side. Very tight stuff on the exit. Who's going to get their power down? Hitala's inching in front. Hitala will have the position down into turn number 16 as Biega and Buba come into the pit lane.
As we do see Biega and Buba get themselves on the intermediates. They didn't want to risk that double stack and lose out too much time. You see the gaps in the field now. Oh! Big moment for Lominen. Just barely keeping the car going around into turn one. Big send. Didn't grip like he wanted it to. The track is still very, very wet and the inters are not working like he's expecting them to. Did well to keep it under control though. The Williams sliding through turn one and you see the train separating. This pit strategy throwing everything up in the air. Double stacking needed to be done. For some teams, we have a 3-wide moment. And is this FedEx looking to get through a pressure? Can he get the traction down? Yes, he can. The McLaren dives up into P5 though.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that moment, it was, oh, you can see still, absolutely, Laminin pushing Napadovsky through. Can Tony Hitala break away? Going to be critical for his race. He's got the gap up to 9/10 of a second. Hitala trying to break clear. This is the opportunity to get ahead and move through with everyone battling for second position. But Laminin will have to take a step back once we saw that moment. He was all over the road. They'll still be all over the road. As you can see, they're sliding their way through turn number 13. It quite literally feels like I'm watching a race in real life at this stage with how much they're sliding around, trying to get the tires into temperature. And now there's an opportunity, Corey.
There is indeed. Napadovsky fighting away with Laminin. Laminin can't find an open door. Is there a potential for a switchback? He can't pull the car around. Can't get the rotation though into turn 14. And now we push on for another lap. Can he get that little bit closer? Inching ever closer to that Haas Rios diffuser. Hitala with the fastest lap under no pressure whatsoever. Comfortable out there. 1.2 second lead. As we now see Vulture Steg take that fastest lap away as he's leading his own little bit of a train, trying to get close to Rens Tomassen. Slipstream working there for that kick Salber.
Indeed, so there was a chance for Laminin, could not get by, and they're still in order, but with Hitala breaking clear, it is going to be hard to just sit there and be patient. If you are one of these drivers, late lunge in the background from Tador Presakan to the inside, the driver who wasn't happy with the braking of other people when it came to Bahrain, this time around is going to move up to 5th position here in Shanghai. They're still glued together in the battle for second place, which Presakan will surely be arriving on the scene with how slow they are going, and a huge opportunity. These guys are struggling a lot more, especially Oleg Napadovsky. He's getting pushed around these corners, which is allowing Hitala to break clear. Hitala's building a gap that we don't see ever really here in PSGL. As we make our way through then, let's see whether this time around Laminin can find a way by. Can Lighty get in there as well?
We can only hope so. I apologise, I had to quickly tab and change things because I accidentally tabbed out the wrong thing. But Thomas Laminin is looking to bring the fight to Oleg Napadovsky. He's had a beautiful run coming out of that hairpin, that long right-hander turn 13. But he's just not close enough. He's looking for an open door. Lighting maybe the one to have the run. Laminin late on the brake, sends it into that hairpin of 14. And around we go, but he's off the track. He sent it a little bit too late, bit too much of a lunge, gone really far deep. Ended up losing out the position. And Lighty able to push on through and take P2 away. Now leads that train as Hitala is checked out, almost 2 seconds clear of that fight.
This is absolutely wild stuff. Side by side we go still, and that's going to be FedEx trying to get by. He's got the inside line. Campbell Adams sets the fastest lap of this race. You've got McLaren versus Haas. Further back, you've got Victor Vidler trying to hang on up against Alexander Dimas. Still we go side by side. Look how tight this is getting in the battle for 5th, in the battle for 7th. The Ferrari's inching ahead. Vidler is moving through, under braking though. Still it's going to be tight. FedEx tries to make the move. Napadowski doesn't want to give it up, and now FedEx is going to get the power down. He'll take 5th. The battle for 7th will continue though through the next few sequences of corners. Dimas is ahead, and in 7th it is getting really feisty between these drivers, and the rain is causing a different approach. You would usually see them sit behind most of the time, waiting for the DRS, waiting for those opportunities to get by around this circuit. No DRS, meaning that the driver ahead has a chance to defend. And that is creating loads of brawls that are continuing corner after corner. Some fantastic racing in the opening laps, and we're only at lap number 5. We've had so much action, it's barely believable.
It is absolutely insane, crazy out here in PSGL PC F3 in China. We've got the wet conditions have certainly brought out everybody's elbows. They're going, firing their fists away, scrapping for every position possible. Like you say, Omi, that DRS is not there for the attacking tool or the defensive tool. So you need to really focus, really get the elbows out and make positions when the opportunity arises, because you can't use the DRS games in this. You need to be careful with your battery, be careful how you use it, and just really scrap for the positions.
Over the line we go, and on to lap number 6. It's a 1.9 second advantage between Hitala and Lighty, the driver who has now possession over 2nd place after we saw a battle between Napadowski and Laminin, as Linus Donovan becomes our first retirement. That is in the pit lane, however, will not interrupt runnings out there right now for the field as we head down towards turn number 6. Let's see whether Dimas can try go on the attacker. Napadowski seems to be struggling in these wet conditions, I think it's fair to say, Corey. First of all, of course, lost touch with Hitala and was creating a massive train for 2nd. Now he's losing touch to the drivers in front, so not going his way at all in these wet conditions.
No, not indeed. Oleg Napadowski struggling out here. You see the Alpine all over the back end. They're almost bump drafting him through turns number 7, turns number 9 even, and number 10 as we come around to finish off sector 2. It's getting close between these two. Alexander Dimas looking for any open door, any open opportunity to get on through. I suspect it will come on the exit of 13 if he's just got the grip. He's just got better traction. Look how close he is to the Haas as we come around the right-hander now. He's going to get the run down. He's going to burn some of that battery and look to try and get past here. The slipstream is the only advantage you will get. No DRS, but as you dive out of that slipstream, you'll be hit with the drag. So immediately start slowing down. Immediately has to fall back in line, and there's a dive. He locks the car, slides it through 14, barely able to keep it under control. Almost opened the door for Victor Widler to come on through, but he's still scrapping away with Oleg, and Oleg managing to keep the position by the skin of his teeth. Oh, good fighting, good scrapping. Victor Widler now looking to get on by on the Alpine. Can he make 1? Yes, he can. Can he get through on 2? He's looking for it up into turn 1, switching it for turn 2. The inside line has been opened by the Ferrari. The Alpine looking for it, but cannot get there as we get through turn 3. Back around the corkscrew. The order is set, and Victor Widler through on Alexander Dimas. Oleg barely keeping his P6.
Order set, as you mentioned, but for how much longer is definitely going to be interesting to see, because these drivers going for it. Steg very nearly into the back of Tomas, and you would have just seen further back, and it is definitely getting really tight. Drivers having to pick their braking spots, trying to be careful not to make contact with their rivals as well. But if you are going to make a late move on the brakes, you are risking running wide. You don't have the same purchase, the same grip going into corners that you would in the dry conditions. So dive bomb moves are definitely going to have a risk versus reward attached to it in this race when drivers are going for moves like that. Lighty at the front is doing his absolute best to get the gap back down. He's gained a couple of tenths as well, coming in between 1st and 2nd place, but we're currently looking, understandably, at this train with Victor Vidler trying to make the move. Let's see whether he can do it. Up alongside, he's to the inside of turn number 14. It's all about picking his braking spot. That'll be slightly wide. It could be the up and under for Oleg Napadovsky if he can get the traction down, which you can see the Haas driver is trying to do. Into turn number 16, who's going to give an inch. Neither of them do. And Napadovsky looks to try and find his way through now. On the run towards the first corner. We're going to go 3 wide. Opportunity for Alexander Dimas to get through as well. They're banging wheels into the first turn. Dimas going round the outside of the pair of them. This is barely believable. Has the Alpine got the move stick? It's so tight as they still go 3 wide in these conditions. Dimas has got the inside line. Barely believable stuff. Getting the power down. Getting the power down. Is it going to be Dimas? Well, the Haas has been mugged of Oleg Napadovsky. Here comes Renz Tomasin as well. And Dimas somehow couldn't get the move done. He could lose all those positions again. 3 wide once more. And it's turning into fireworks out there in Shanghai as Riddler pulls away. And they still go 3 wide into turn 7.
3 wide into turn 7, switches to 2 wide, going all the way around to turn 8. It's Alexander Dimas, Renz Tomasin side by side through turn 8, going down into turn 9, still side by side, giving each other the space, but barely giving an inch of traction against each other. All this squabbling, and through goes Tomasin and during turn 10. Beautiful sender to get ahead. Alexander Dimas realised could not put up that fight much longer. Had to slip back in line or risk losing a little bit more time to Victor Widler ahead. They're already 7/10 dropped away. I am speechless. I am shocked. 3 wide into turn 6, 3 wide around turn 7, leaving it out for nobody. It's all to gain here in China.
Absolutely, it was barely believable. Who's ready for some more? Into the braking zone.
Oh,
around
contact!
the outside. Very nearly losing the car for Dimas as well coming in. Further back, it's getting super tight as we go through. Salza will be looking to try and move up to 9th position. But indeed, Corey, what on earth were those couple of corners? Barely believable. We thought 1 second that Dimas was going to pull off an extraordinary move to get past 2 cars. It wasn't the case. Now it is. The Brazilian driver, Salza, going hunting into the opening few corners of the circuit. Can he keep his foot in up against the Alpine? He'll be getting the opportunity, and they're going to go side by side through these first few couple of corners around this circuit, trying to get the power down. Salza will not be able to do it. Dimas still has the possession of P9.
Oh my God, scrapping hard. The rain is starting to lighten off. Salza's going to go for it. Force the Alpine to almost go into the back of Oleg Napadovsky. But he's opened the door for Campbell Adams now to fight back against Salza. He's just not close enough. Can't get the traction. Cannot get the speed. Coming down into turn 7 and back around turn 8. Nobody's squabbling like we saw earlier on. Just a lap before. Going into lap 9. There's been so much action. The squabbling does not stop. And there's still 19 laps to go. Oh my word.
This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. And we may not have the usual DRS, but goodness me, are we seeing some of the best racing that we've had all season. And Lighty has been pushing on hard to say that the gap was 2 seconds. No DRS. He's just pushed on all the way to 7/10. And if you thought that Hitala was going to run away with this one, you were wrong, because the Kicksaber's closing in, bringing everyone along with him. And we're going to continue this battle, but out in front. And if, well, with what we're going by in terms of all of the other battling we've seen, if we're going to see something like that at the front of the field, then goodness me, are we going to be in for some contest for the remainder of this race. But this is another level of what the rain has brought. We aren't just sitting behind and waiting, all waiting for lap number 28, Corey. We're getting the action with every lap that goes by.
Absolutely, but what I can say is the rain has stopped. Conditions will truly dry up. It's just a question of when is the crossover. This is going to be the call of strategy now. Now we're at that battle of attrition, that battle of mind games. Who is going to dive into the pits first and risk it? You never know how greasy the track may still be. Although it may look dry, it will still be down on temperature, down on grip. All the grip that was once there has been washed away by the rain you have just seen. And intermediates were certainly the call for these 10 laps that have unfolded. Although they started on the dries, they needed to get those inters out of the way. Dry conditions are yet to come. It's all about when that crossover period is going to happen.
Absolutely. Lap number 10 at this stage. Lap number 10 only. It feels like we've already had the 28 laps with the action that we have seen. Absolutely box office stuff. But now we're going to be in for a different style of race. Now we're going to be in for drivers soon having to make a critical decision on when they try and make their pit stop, and when they do so, it's going to be critical when they rejoin the circuit. As here we go, a move coming up for Rens Thomassen out of the slipstream. Let's see whether he can now pick his braking spot. How much will Widler be able to fight it? Thomassen is going to move through and move up to P6. The Ferrari is not going to be anywhere near the apex. Moving through. Now we're seeing the fastest laps. Now we're seeing the circuit get better and better. And who's going to roll the dice is going to be interesting. Looks like Victor Widler is going to try and roll the dice. And it's going to be important to keep it on the road. The circuit will still be damp. And the conditions will be improving side by side. We go in the battle for second place. And Presakan trying to get through on Lighty, who's done a lot of hard work. Pushing on. Trying to get themselves towards Hitala. Now they're going to battle amongst themselves on the run towards time number 6.
To the Pressicon, certainly looking to bring some squabbling, bring some action and bring the fight, but just had to go a little bit slow there around turn 6. Just a little love tap from Thomas Lamman, and hopefully did not pick up any unfortunate wing damage, because at this track, among the most, it's going to be deadly in that first sector. Turns 1, 2 and 3, without that front end downforce, you're just not going to slow down, you're going to slide completely off to that outside line. But you need to be careful and make sure that it does not happen to you. The dry conditions are yet to come. We've had some drivers box already. We'll take a quick little look at the tyres. Hard tyres for Victor Widler, Jacob and Wojciech Steg. They've already got it done and dusted and out of the way. But how is the grip feeling? I've not seen the call for DRS to be enabled yet. It is still a little bit greasy, a little bit slick, a little bit damp. And Inters could still well be the fastest tyre for now, but the temperature is certainly going to ramp up and ramp up quickly on those green wall tyres.
Absolutely. So, we continue to make our way through. Presakan found himself with the opportunity to try and get by. He wasn't able to do it, and at this stage, the racing and still passing is difficult, and you can see all out of shape for the Kicksauber driver of Lighty, who sends it across the line. We go once again. Is this going to be the opportunity for Presakan? Was definitely closing in, wasn't close enough when they got to turn number 1, and they're going through these long few couple of corners. But the drivers you're keeping an eye on is Widler, is Jacob, is Steg, because they've got a hard compound of tyres on. So we're looking to see whether that 11.7 second gap, which is increasing right now at this stage, when will that start closing in to Marcel Biega?
Oh, we can only hope and only pray that the track is still a little bit damp and they're struggling on those high compound tyres, because ultimately this undercut strategy could be the one to be on for Victor Widler and Jacob. However, Jacob being 4 seconds behind Widler. Widler's certainly going to be the one to gain the most from this. It's just, when is the track dry enough for that compound to start firing up and working? The intermediate's still running strong. They're not sliding too much. They don't seem to be struggling. They've still got very good grip. Apart from that, Hatala has a little bit of a snap there coming up out of turn 11, but he does very well to get the power back down, not lose too much time to Lighty behind.
Here we go. Across then the DRS marker boards. No DRS usage allowed for the drivers at this stage, though. Still a damp circuit. We haven't had the message, as we mentioned earlier on, but Lighty, this was the first proper chance that he had to close in, and you can see every lap that we go through, visibly, circuit getting better and better as well. And we are still, though, seeing the gap increasing. You can see it's all the way 17.9, and as we speak it's getting to 18. But the drivers on the intermediate compound of tyres setting the fastest laps right now. So whenever we start seeing Victor Widler closing in and getting closer, that it will be the message to the rest of the drivers to come in to the pit lane. That's going to be a move around the outside from Campbell Adams, attempting it, but that was super wide. Then in the second phase of the corner, and it means that he will watch Dimas and Sousa debate 8th, and it's Sousa who is ahead as Biega now sets the new fastest. Now we're going to be seeing that graphic come up quite a bit over the next few laps.
What I can say is Victor Widler is starting to gain some time, so maybe the track is starting to dry out a little bit crucial information for the rest of the grid this. They can see Victor Widler start to gain up, for especially the likes of Biega and Host. If they can see that gap start to fall away, Host being Tias Korsman, he's just called Host in this for some unknown reason, but Tias Korsman, for the likes of them, it's good, crucial data. They see that delta start dropping, they know it's time to slap on some dry compound tyres, some slicks, whether it be the mediums, could certainly be a factor to play on depending on how long they can go on those inters.
Yeah, absolutely. So the driver running in 11th, as we mentioned, Korsman, running the name House. I wonder if it's due to what we saw last week with Leonardo Tornolato winning the race with a new name. So I wonder if he's experimenting with that, trying his best to find a way through to the front of the field and seeing whether the new name brings a little bit of luck. Not at this stage though, he's running in 11th, but can Lighty try and find himself up there? The driver that's currently 12th in the championship scored points in Brazil, and at the front of the field is moving through to take the lead. So Lighty hits the front, loads of drivers coming into the pit lane as Lighty gets to the front, Hitala down to second, Pressakan in third, then it's Laminin, but everyone behind Corey diving it in, and now it is the box office moment of this race once again as we reach the halfway mark of this race and the halfway mark of the season.
Absolutely, there it is, lap 14 underway. We are halfway through this season 39, only 9 rounds going in this calendar, and it's been a very spicy start as we get going to the halfway point. Mixing conditions, the crossover period comes at the halfway point in the season as we see drivers start to box. There we see medium runners. It's what I was waiting for, what I was hoping to expect is those medium compounder tyres. They've been able to extend those intermediates a little bit longer just to compensate for that hard running of Victor Widler and Jacob and Wojciech Steg. Jacob's being 4 laps old and Victor's and Wojciech's being 3. Of course, Campbell Adams came in 1 lap old on the hards, so there is a bit of an advantage. Only a couple laps so far. We have hard runners, FedEx, Renz to Masson, and they've come in for the hard compounder tyres. Buber, hard compound tyres. And everybody else there swapping for the mediums bar. The front 4 runners who still feel fairly squared away, fairly confident, very grippy on those intermediates, but certainly the temperature is going to come into play. Going to be a factor as we see Hatala dive into the pits. I'll go on board with FedEx to see what sort of undercut we expect from the McLaren on Hatala, if there is any undercut to come.
Yeah, absolutely. For any viewers wondering as well with his name, that is absolutely Ryan Grubb coming in with that as well, and he's got a 3-second gap to Renz to Masson. But the reason why we're watching the McLaren is to see where will he be in comparison to Itala, to Pressakan, and to the Kick Sauber of Lighty as well. Wide in the background goes Renz to Masson, but we're looking to the pit lane and you can see rejoining directly in front. So you've got Hitala, Pressakan, Lighty and Laminin all coming through. We have FedEx though, who's got his tyres warmed up, Corey, so he needs to use these next few couple of corners to get onto the back and be there when the DRS gets open to be a part and join this DRS train at the front of the field. Late lunge from Tador Pressakan to take the lead. It was a Daniel Ricciardo style move into turn number 6 and it propels him to P1 in the race.
Latest on the brakes, takes the position away, is something that we see a lot here in China. We've seen it in the wet conditions, we're seeing it in the dry, but Ryan Grubb, rocking the name of FedEx, just needs to get the most out of these warm hard compound tyres. He has the temperature, but he's just not dropping the tenths like we hope him to. He's still sat there at 1.5 as he was when they came out of the pits. So if those front 4 fire up that compound, the gap is just going to start to break away. He's dropping time a little bit more, is FedEx. So hopefully he just needs to square up, get a little bit back on the ball. The slipstream's doing the front 4 runners correctly, doing them perfectly. Wow, that looks very, very strange. There's an Aston Martin in the shadow. What? This game is so broken.
It's getting very, very interesting, and we've got the Aston Martin in 3rd position as wide for Lighty as Pressakan trying to make his escape at this stage. Not what you want. Over the line we go, and here's the chance for Thomas Laminin to go the long way around. DRS open in this race, and a move that sees Thomas Laminin possibly turn the outside to possibly now the inside as we go our way through, and he is going to take the place. Laminin up to 3rd position, and absolutely the Aston Martin driver who was very visible in the background, as you could see. Definitely the driver who will now be in the mirrors for our top three, which is Persican, Lighty and Laminin.
Absolutely, but you've got to look at the tyre difference. Tudor, Pressican, Lighty, Tomas Laminen all running the yellow wall tyres, medium compound, whereas Hatala on the hard compound, which means his race is yet to come into the final closing laps. He just needs to stay with that pack, not lose out too much time as the front runners have that tyre advantage. They're getting the grip, they're getting it on the braking, they're getting it on the exits. The gap is starting to form and starting to open up. He just cannot afford to lose the DRS.
That's a vital thing. You cannot afford to lose the DRS, so that's a big moment in the championship because Buba, the nearest contender to Itala, finds himself out of the race. So there's going to be an opportunity coming in for the drivers behind as well. As you can see in the background, the McLaren of FedEx in there. Oleg Napadovsky trying to go through, and he is going to get through on the brakes, moving past, and he gets past Alexander Dimas with Felipe Souza in there as well, but it's under 2 tenths in it for our race lead at the front of the field, and back to the front goes the kick saber of Lighty, who retakes the lead, and we're back to the stage now where we're going to see a bit of jockeying, we're going to see a little bit of switching between these two drivers, and they'll surely be joined for company by the drivers behind and very nearly, and that is going to be really, really tight. Oh, big moment, Lighty's pulled away, and that was a very big moment as Presican slows down, and Laminin very nearly into the back. A bit of contact and damage for Tony Atala for the second race in a row. Our championship leader has damage.
He's lost that front right end plate. That wing is defeated. Turn 1 is going to be disastrous. Well, turn 1 may grip. The rest of it will not. That's heavy, heavy damage for the front wing of Hitala, though. Unfortunate, disastrous thing to happen. He will need to box and get that fixed. His championship hopes are starting to slip away. 2 victories in a row. He didn't win in round 3 in Belgium. Had a disastrous Grand Prix. And now it's happening again in China. Is this just the bad luck starting to fall at Hatala's feet as that Aston Martin limping around 13 drops the DRS?
Absolutely, we mentioned it. We mentioned it quite a bit. And now pulling to the outside, easy pass with DRS, moving through. Lighty's going to say thank you very much as he's managed to pull away. And once again, another twist, another turn thrown at this championship. And that'll be disappointment for Itala. Once again came into this with so much pace. And he's going to find himself dropping down. He'll continue on. He's still in a good position, but he has a long, long way to go to navigate. Back to the outside, back to P2 for Tador Presican. But this race now split up in a big way. Lighty 1.5 seconds clear, with Presican and Laminin with a big job to close in. Itala trying to hang on to 4th, and you have that group, which you just saw in your picture. Thomason and you also have FedEx, all trying to close in. So we have loads of different battles, loads of different races going on, and that's what the wet weather created earlier on. We have a field that is very much split in a way that we usually don't get to see as Biega moves up to P12.
Yeah, things are certainly looking a little bit interesting, but we've still got 10 laps of this Grand Prix to get underway. There's still a lot to happen, a lot of action yet to come your way on the screen. But for now, everything's sort of just settling in a little bit. Everything's just cooling off. People trying to manage the tyres a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. The drivers can be managing some of those tyre compounds. Presican looks like he's really deployed some of the battery core. He's really pushed on. He's dropped Laminin. He's really pushed after Light, and you can see very nearly inside that 1 second as well. So yeah, getting super tight for all of these drivers. Loads of different races currently going on as Hitala will drop down. He'll drop down to 5th, and this will be a theme in the next few laps if Hitala is to continue on. Absolutely disappointing for him, and to have the exact same thing happen 2 races in a row is not what he wants. And you're going to see the next contender FedEx try go through around the outside, and that'll be a simple move as well on his way to P5.
Absolutely, Hitala's just going to drop positions, lose time, struggling with the downforce through these turns, especially Sector 1. Sector 2, the long left-hander, the long right-hander, losing that front end grip. He's going to have to back out in corners where you would normally be flat to the floor, just not able to get the rotation So he's going to lose a lot of time here, especially in Sector 2. So this is where the likes of Oleg's going to catch up. Alexander, Sousa, Campbell, Adams eventually will just pass and take those positions.
Yep, that is going to be how the next few laps will go. Lighty then 8/10 away as we keep updating you with the gap, but he has been able to close it in, and he will be getting the aid of the 1 second Will Pressacan, I should say, and he's got 8/10 ahead, and that will all be closed in with this absolutely long straight that leads us down towards the braking zone of 14, then it's the little kink of 15, and then the 16th and final corner on the circuit, and that will be your 19th tour around the circuit complete of 28.
Alexander
Not the only one.
Ooh.
Yay, that's going to be 1, 2, possibly 3, because Sousa wanted to get by. So, Napadovsky got through, Dimas followed through, we very nearly saw 3 cars get past Italo in one corner, and on a day that looked so promising, a brilliant qualifying performance earlier, it's all unraveling now, and it's all changing. The McLaren of FedEx trying to go on the charge. Here we go though, cars absolutely everywhere. Sousa moves through. You have also going through is Renz Tomasin ahead of FedEx, but we're currently looking at this battle with Dimas, who also managed to get past Oleg Napadovsky. It is the bunch of moves that we are now used to here in PSGL, just moves absolutely everywhere around this circuit.
Absolutely, we're about to see Marcel Biega around the outside of turn 1. Oh, that was very brave, very ballsy. Certainly show his minerals there to get past Victor Widler. Widler trying to stay closer, even though they're not within the points. They're still fighting away for those positions.
Absolutely. So, it is exactly what we're getting. Everywhere in this field, we are seeing moves and hard moves as well. It's not your simple DRS passes, it's going down to the braking zone. You're seeing bravery around the outside, drivers debating whether to fight certain moves or not as well. So we're in this really interesting phase of the race as they all go past what is turning into the Aston Martin wallpaper now in the background, and Napadovsky back past Dimas, and that will be a never-ending story all the way till the 28th and final lap, unless there are any more hurdles thrown, which is PSGL. There's always a chance there will be another hurdle thrown for these drivers to navigate, whether that be safety cars or some more contact coming in. And we're back down to start-finish straight, and Corey, that means more moves.
Absolutely, that DRS making it easy for Ryan Grob, the rocking FedEx as a name, as well as Alexander Damas to get past once again on Oleg Napadovsky. Felipe Sousa just waiting behind, letting them squabble away, hoping a mistake may open a door for Sousa to get on through, but the exchange of DRS, he's just sat there comfortably letting them do it. They're knocking off the tenths needed to close up to Alexander Damas, to close up to Renz Tomasin. So these three just getting a little bit closer. Sousa playing it smart, just waiting for that moment to strike and get on through. The rest of the field just bunching up, trying to get closer together to set themselves up for those final closing laps.
Absolutely, that is what they are doing right now on this racetrack, just getting themselves prepared all the way to the end. This is Renz Tomasin, who was looking like a contender. Remember the opening lap where around this circuit we found out he was all the way down there, down the order, running in the lower positions. He's now fought his way back through, and it's going to be in this battle for 4th place, and he's about to get to that 4th place as we make our way through, and he won't be the only one improving. You're going to get Napadovsky going through. Keep an eye there on Felipe Sousa, because yes, we've been used to seeing one car through, but going through is also Felipe Sousa, the F4 champion from a couple of seasons ago, and Felipe is going to now make his way up to 7th, and will look to also take P6, and it's all stable right now out there, Corey. We're just seeing easy passes, not those high moments of brinkmanship that we have seen a couple of times. They're all waiting for those final stages. They're all just getting themselves into position as Tony Itala is going to retire. The championship leader finds himself with another day to forget for the 2nd weekend in a row.
Absolutely, but the closest person in Championship, Booba, also DNFing, so not too much threat. This opens the door for another change in race victory. We saw Leonardo Tonelato win last week. I know we may see Lighty or Tudor Presican take a victory here tonight in China, so different race victors. The championship is not going to be dominated by one, as it seems 2 victories off the start, getting off very well for Hatala, but he's had 2 stinkers at the same time, not scoring crucial points.
Yeah, so the 2 drivers who will be looking to take advantage will be Presican and Laminin, as a lot of the contenders at the front aren't having the best of days today. So definitely we're going to keep an eye on Presican and Laminin as well. And Lighty has a good chance to get himself up there. He's only managed to score 8 points this season, and he right now is staring at 16 of them. And of course, if he does get the fastest lap, he'll also earn a bonus point on top of that. Hitala, though, already has secured himself 1 point from this event, and that was for pole position earlier on as well. And that is going to be super wide stuff in the background for the Haas of Napadovsky, who now goes for the move on Felipe Salza, and followed through very nicely indeed from Dimas, who goes the long way around.
Salza runs a little bit wide there in turn 1, but collects it well for turn 2, and then comes back down into turn 3, not losing it too much time. Did run a little bit off the line though, but controlled it very, very well, not losing too much time. Look at Alexander Dimas all over the rear tail. Oleg Napagodovsky may have to defend here, but you don't want to pass until you get down into that back straight in sector 3. You don't want to risk losing the DRS.
Don't want to risk losing the DRS indeed. And if we take you back and talk a bit about the front of the field, 8 tenths, it's right on the brink with a 9 tenths, 8 tenths margin. That'll be critical come the final stages. It cannot be that gap. It'll need to be inside 1 second, and well inside 1 second, to give himself a realistic opportunity. It'll be critical for Presican, so he'll need to make sure the next few couple of laps count. Can he get himself in contention? He'll need to be using the DRS all the way as well. There we go. We now look to the Mercedes, and this time around, no rear wing open, and that does not give him the closing speed to close that gap in. So he'll need to make sure that he gets it down the start finish straight. As Alexander Dimas, is he going to go for the move? Got close in the background, but sitting in behind this lap around. And this is where the drivers are thinking about, where do we position ourselves for these final stages? Do we step forward and try to be the driver on the defense? Do we want to be the driver on the attack? Especially if you're in a 3-way battle, you want to decide where you want to position yourself, and usually the drivers do want to be behind to get the slingshot, get the run on the last lap. But different approaches can work depending on battery as well. So loads of factors now going through the driver's head on what decision they make in the final stages of this race.
Absolutely, we've only got 4 more laps to run, so now they start to focus on battery management, recharge, check the tyres, see where your temperatures are at. You don't want to overcook them. Get yourself set up, prepared for the final closing laps. You may have to defend like your life depends on it, or attack like you have a gun pointed to your head. That's to say the least. Gain all the positions you can. Close up now as we get down into the final few laps. Coming around in sector 3 now for what will be the 4th to final time. 5th to final time if you want to include this lap, but we'll include the lap. 5th to final time coming down into sector 3.
It will, for all of these contenders, switch between the Williams drivers, and FedEx also going through as well. Okay, so a battle that was for 4th, no longer a battle for 4th, now it is for the final spot on the podium as well, which awards you 10 points. Who will be claiming those 10 points? We have got the 2 Williams, as I mentioned, in contention. FedEx is also in there as well, as we go tight to the wall. Esports line on the run towards turn 1. The McLaren is back in front, and yes, these 2 who were running for 4th and 5th earlier on, they've both closed in on Laminin as well, and they're both now going to go on the attack, go on the charge, and hopefully deliver us with some fantastic racing all the way till the end. Pressakan getting to the 6th tenths, getting to the 7th tenths, all the way back to the 9. So that is absolutely fluctuating at the front. This is going to be a brilliant end. There's going to be so many battles. We're always used to the battle for the first going on all the way to the end. But could we get battles throughout the rest of the field? It certainly looks like we are going to be heading that way.
Certainly does indeed. Everybody starting to close up now. Lap 25 of 28 completed. Well, almost completed as we come through in Sector 2. It looks like Rens Tomassen's looking to juice up himself up for a little bit of a pass here. Coming up into Sector 3 DRS zone. Look how close he's getting to the rear of that McLaren. Getting the run down out of turn 13. Trying to stay nice and close on the tail and have the perfect run before that rear wing is even open. The slipstream is also a mighty tool to use in attacking. And as you can see, the closing speed. Rear wing is open. Swing to that inside line and it's done very, very easily. A perfect setup. Textbook overtake, to say the least. Well, now as we come through to what will be starting lap 26, are you in the correct position? Drivers have that mindset where they start to think, if I'm ahead on lap 26, 27, they take the DRS and they get past me. Then on 28, I will have the DRS to fight back. But you must also take into consideration the car behind. He's got that mindset. He's thinking, I've got DRS on lap 26. I'm going to stay behind on 27 and then attack on lap 28. So this is where the mind games come into play.
Yeah, it's just absolutely phenomenal what goes through these drivers' mind in the final stages. It's all happening very quickly. You've got to react as well, and we have seen lots of hurdles being thrown. Like, for example, if you're, basically, like, for example, if you're the driver that is running second in the train, and you're all getting in your head, oh yes, we're going to go and attack Rens Tomassen on the final tour, and then all of a sudden you've got Lamin to the inside. There's so many hurdles thrown at every moment, even if you weren't expecting it. You can have a plan, you can have a set mind of what you think could happen, but it can all change very quickly. And Laminin, with his missing end plate, just continuing to navigate his way and just continuing to stick with these two phenomenal drivers ahead, and then also try and get himself to what is going to be a podium spot. But we're debating the podium. We're also debating the race lead, which right now belongs to Lighty. But Pressakan knows there's a big opportunity to gain points when it comes to the championship today. So he'll be using the DRS. He'll be looking to close in as we go on to the penultimate lap.
Absolutely, we are on the penultimate lap. This is where the gaps start to fall down. This is where the drivers start to close up to their rivals, as we see Tador Pressakan drop 3 tenths there coming into Sector 1. It was 8-9 tenths floating around just barely within the DRS. He's controlled that very, very nicely now within half a second to strike back at Lighty and just floating about with that sort of time. He's not really had a good run. He's had a better run there on the exit of turn 6 to drop a couple more tenths away. But it's Lighty trying to push on, trying to bridge the gap. Needs to break the DRS before we get to Sector 3. Or has Lighty done enough, feels comfortable in that position, that he can defend with all the battery? Does he have that battery at full usage? Is it ready, primed at 100% to defend against what will be a charging Mercedes? That is Tador Pressakan.
Absolutely, that is what he's going to have to watch for. You're going to have Pressakan, who will now surely be wanting to give everything, and he's a driver who's not had everything go his way this season. His win in Bahrain got taken away. He'll want the win in Shanghai. He opens the DRS. He'll need to close in. This will be critical if he wants to challenge for the race victory on the final lap. You can see that this is the closest that he has been so far, setting up the apexes to the final few corners. Sousa moves up to 6, but we are about to go on to the final 5.451 kilometers, 3.387 miles to decide a victor in Shanghai. We have Lighty leading, Pressakan trying to take it away, and we're on the last lap, and Pressakan is closer than he has been so far. He's going to have a massive opportunity on the last lap.
Absolutely closing up, dropping those tenths away and keeping us on board with what could be the fight for the final podium position as well. I'm flicking between the two to see where the action's going to be. Has Lighty done enough? Is there enough reserves in the tank to defend against what has been A very controlled Mercedes running that race beautifully, just waiting, sitting in the DRS, not burning away all his resources. But now is the time when it matters. 2 tenths, within 3 tenths, striking distance for an overtake, especially as we get going through sector 2 and get ready for sector 3. That back straight, you've got the slipstream, you've got the full battery in reserve ready for attack, then you have the DRS for Tudor Presican, and now we come around 12, which will convert into that double right-hander of 13, where he'll now get that DRS aid. Can he get the run? Dives into that slipstream, lining up behind that kicks Alba. Now looking, you see the line trying to be broken, the toe trying to be broken, the DRS is enabled, the battery's being burnt. Dives into the lead, using all the speed necessary. FedEx diving into P3 as well. There's no move coming back from Lighty. FedEx side by side with Rens Tomassen, though. Tomassen looking to try and take P3 away in turn 16. It will be Tudor Presican to take victory here. There's nothing Lighty can do, but it's a drag race to the line for Ryan Grob and Rens Tomassen. Tomassen barely taking it. 300th of the second split. Rens for Tomas Laminen to fall behind in P5. Rens Tomassen and Tomas Laminen, the Williams boys, doing well to try and fight that McLaren, just could not get there. Ryan Grob doing it well to take P4 and falling down the order. Everybody now starting to cross the line. Marcel Biega comes over in 10th, Victor Widler in 11th, and now we wait for Jacob, Tias Korsman and Wojciech Steg.
Remarkable, absolutely remarkable stuff, and that is absolutely what we love about PSGL. Presican making the move at the end. Not a sniff of an opportunity ever since he got in behind, and ever since Lighty was able to move clear. Not a chance, but he reserved it. He saved it all for the last lap. He made sure that he could close in on the penultimate, and then it was all guns blazing on the final tour, and it was enough. It was enough by a mile. Not even a contest down to the braking zone where Lighty had a chance to fight back. It was through in a straight line for Presican, and that is how you take a victory. We've seen it go down to corners and it'd be very tight, it'd be very close. Not today. Presican managed that one to perfection, and it was definitely very tight in the battle for third, as we mentioned.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip out on the interviews just for this week, but we'll be back to smooth playing running next week out. But we will get another quick look at your finishing order and just go over what could have been beautiful for Tony Hitala, but picked up damage in lap 18, 19, just fell down the order and then eventually retiring in the pit lane. So the championship is well and truly up in the air. 2 disastrous races for your championship leader Hitala, Belgium and the likes of Chinese Grand Prix today. So it is for Tudor Presican to take the victory, Lighty to take P2, Rens Tomassen to finish off that podium spot. And the championship now starts to close up a little bit. That gap is no longer 15 points. It could be somebody new making the charge for the lead. Oh, what a beautiful way to go about it.
Absolutely, what a beautiful way it is to to continue this season. We've completed the halfway mark and now we're into the second half of the season. What amazing circuits we have coming up. This is going to be a brilliant end to the season, and yes, no interviews coming in today, but it's good news because all of the real life action in Australia, if you're following all of the series, all of the categories that are going on there, then F3, F2, they're all about to get their seasons underway, and that's where also I'll be turning my attention. So we do hope that you also enjoy the real life weekend as